Hello everyone. So welcome back to my channel. It has been a while. Today we're gonna do something different. I'm going to be doing a video for my assignment in one of my college classes. So basically what we are going to be talking about today, we are going to be talking about gender norms and freedom of expression. So what will this video be about? A person can freely express themselves, basically, regardless of gender norms, and their sexuality or personality isn't defined by how they express themselves. Now, what do I mean by that? I will give you a perfect example. Let's say a boy plays with a doll, but it's like a Barbie doll, and some people might say that it's girly or it's not boyish enough, and they might ditch out the Barbie doll and give him a toy truck instead, which I think isn't okay. I think anyone should have the freedom to express themselves, and children should have the freedom to find out what they like and express themselves. Another example that I would say is a girl who's first starting to get into makeup and painting her nails and starting to express her feminine side. And I think it's especially important at a young age. But some people might say that she's trying to get attention or she's being promiscuous by getting interested in boys and having crushes and getting into makeup and other feminine things that I feel like you know, freedom of expression shouldn't be shamed or ridiculed, and you shouldn't have these labels to place on kids for just being themselves, if you know what I mean. So let's get into the nitty gritty of the video. So with girls, and especially, I see this especially in Black communities, their girlhood is ripped away from them for fear of them becoming fast-tailed girls. And if you have never heard the term fast-tailed, it's basically an expression that I see in the Black community. Well, they will say a girl is too much of, too promiscuous, or in other words, a slut, or like, slut shaming for being interested in certain things. Um, and their girlhood is just ripped away from them sometimes, and they're not allowed to do certain things. There's like limitations placed on them, and I actually have my own personal experience with this. So as a little girl, I actually wasn't allowed to wear nail polish. And if it was nail polish, it had to be clear. It couldn't be any other color, and it definitely could not be red. I didn't really dabble in makeup too much. Um, it was just never a part of like what I got as toys as a little girl. I would sometimes get dolls and dresses and like tea party sets, but I was never allowed to have like real um like nail polish and all that other stuff. But on the other hand, there is a person in my family. She got to experience those things at a young age. She got to kind of experiment with makeup and dabble in it a little bit. And now that we're all grown now, I'm not really interested in makeup too much or like expressing myself in a girlish way. Now it's like I don't really care. But on the other hand, she kind of like wears makeup a lot and she kind of like goes out and expresses herself a lot. And which kind of begs the question, is there a reason for why some moms limit their daughters' feminine expressions of themselves? Here's my answer to that question. And if you agree, then you could also comment that or explain your stories in the comments. So here's the answer to that question that I realized. I would say some moms limit their daughter's girlhood based off of their own past experiences, such as sexual trauma. And some moms just don't want men to kind of look at their daughters in a way. They feel like makeup and like painting their nails and like, all that girlish stuff might attract unwanted attention and advances from men. So they some moms limit what their daughters can and can't wear based off the assumption that it's the clothes you wear and it's the makeup that attracts attention. And we are going to get into why that is problematic. Now, why would that be problematic? So glad you asked. So I think that kind of thinking, like, oh, you can't wear this or you can't wear this because men are gonna look at you in a certain way. I think that places blame on the girl and not the actual man or the attacker or someone looking at the girl in a weird, like a lustful way. It places blame on the girl, because I think it ties into comments such as, "Oh, what was she wearing? You know, she was wearing something revealing, so she must have wanted it. She must have wanted the attention from men." And I think comments like that just place blame on women and somehow gives a good reason for men advancing towards them. I would say, in other words, that would be kind of victim blaming, and it's just it kind of really it doesn't hold the men accountable is what I'm saying. It's like it's sometimes it's easier to place the blame on women and asking them maybe they wanted it, or maybe you were wearing something that was too scandalous, and they would say, oh, you knew this would happen, you knew what you were getting into. And I just don't think that's okay. I think women should express themselves and feel good about themselves and wear what they want without the notion of they want attention from men. Sometimes women just want to be women, and I'm gonna stand by that. I would say the truth, and especially with like black girls are just overly they're just sexualized at a young age, regardless on whether they're interested in makeup or not, and regardless of what they wear. We're even told to cover up in the comfort of our own homes, in the presence of our own family members. And they make it seem we're somehow the problem as to why men can't control themselves. So I actually found some articles that would kind of like give me more information about that. So there is an article in Washington Post that I'll also link in the description. I'm going to be referencing a lot of things, and I'm going to link them in the description so that you can kind of do your own research and like see for yourself, and you know, add on to the conversation, because I want you guys to also have your own opinions, and especially like I'm also curious about what men feel too. Like, do you hear what I'm saying? Like, can you like understand, try to understand from our perspective? I know, some men in the comments, you guys can't really understand because you're not women, but at least just see and listen to women, to what we're saying. So I am welcome to any like comments and like discussions in the comment section, just as long as you keep it cordial and respectful, and um no hate. So back to the article. The article explained that black girls are adultified, sexualized, and deemed overly aggressive from a young age. Even as little girls, we're still suffering from the angry black woman trope. That stereotype, the angry black woman, at a young age, that's just immediately placed on us. And because of this stereotype and because of this adultification, because black girls are often sexualized, it's said that black girls are 5 times more likely than white girls to be suspended from school, and 20% more likely to be charged with crimes than white girls. With all of this information, white people and our own black community sexualizes us and think of us as troublesome. And these things limit black girls, but there are also some limitations regarding little black boys as well. And which brings me to my next topic, toxic masculinity and homophobia. So let's dive right in. All right. The fear of boys turning gay limits their freedom to express themselves. What do I mean by that? Maybe last year, I think last year there's a TikTok that I stumbled upon, which was the perfect example for this next topic of conversation. In the TikTok, the man stated that the cure for cancer is locked in the mind of a little black boy for fear of that boy becoming gay. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. Let's say that there's a little boy, maybe 5, 6 years old. He's in one corner. There's other boys in the other corner who are playing with toy trucks and who are just interested in what society deems as the normal gender norms for boys. But let's say this little boy in the corner all by himself, he's interested in clothing and fashion, the same way that most girls at that age are into. So let's say his parent comes to pick him up from daycare and he sees that he's drawing his own little design. The parent rips up the paper, rips it, picks up the paper and rips it, and is like, "Are you gay?" There is so many examples of that I have seen where it seems as if the hobbies of a boy and their creativity is sometimes ripped away from them for fear of that somehow turning them gay. And another example of this is also a man and who is also can be a straight man too. A straight man that just likes to play with makeup and likes to paint his nails. And some people might make fun of that man and say, "Oh, you're gay. You want to be a woman. You want to be this. You want to be that." What about makeup and painting your nails makes a person gay? What Why are certain hobbies ridiculed because it's just not seen as manly enough? So there was another article that I'm going to reference, an article titled Preserving Innocence that defined what toxic masculinity is. It defines it so toxic masculinity, according to the article, they define it as expectations that boys and men should be active, aggressive, daring, tough, and dominant. So, if a boy were to show interest in girly things such as makeup, they would face ridicule from certain households and other people because it's not deemed tough or dominant. It's not with by society standards, it's not considered a healthy expression of what being a man is. Any other expressions of masculinity can be seen as not valuable and a sign of weakness. Another detail from the article. Now, here's my own rant about this situation. Boys are just taught to be dominant and aggressive rather than soft and nurturing. And this could also affect their romantic relationships and how they view women. What you plant in a child is like a seed and it's going to grow into a plant eventually. That seed that you planted in that child is going to affect them later in life. So it's going to affect their social interactions, how they view themselves, what they define manhood. Um, in today's society, I see that manhood is defined by whether that person has had like sex or not, and like how many like sexual partners a man has. You know, some men boast about that, and some boys believe that sex is the meaning to being a man. And I'm not a man. I can't, maybe I can't properly define what being a man is, but I will say that my opinion, and this is for all the men in the comments too, um, sex isn't what defines you being a man. So let me just ask the audience and whoever's watching, what do you think being a man is? Explain it to me, you know, a woman who's trying to understand. This is a conversation where I just want men and women to kind of understand each other and their own problems that they face. Because the same way women face problems, men can face problems. Men can suffer from mental health issues too. And sometimes that's often overlooked. I want us to see each other and to accept each other on whether or not we like certain things, our certain hobbies, our interests, our beliefs. I want us to have a conversation about these things. What do you think manhood is to you? Do you think it's defined by whether a man has been intimate with a woman? Do you think it's defined by who the person feels they are? Or is it defined by the clothes they wear, the way they talk, or the way men talk, the way they walk? I think that being a man, no matter what you're into, whether you're gay or straight, no matter if you like to show your feminine side or your masculine side, I think being a man means just what you feel you are, what you identify as. Um, and you can agree to disagree with me in the comments or disagree with me, but I'm very interested in your opinions on this. And I would also say if straight black boys face the constant pressure to engage in sex and to follow their masculine gender norms, then you could only imagine what gay black boys and men have to face. Which brings me to my next topic. There was a documentary that I watched recently called Paris is Burning. If you haven't seen it, it's basically a documentary about drag queens and like in competitions, um and how their competitions were a safe space for gay men to just be stars. If you don't know what a drag queen is, it's basically um a a biological man who dresses up as women and compete in shows and who identify themselves as women, and I believe they are women, but you could also say your opinion in the comments too. But it's these women, these trans men, they would compete in competitions and be in a space where they wouldn't face any ridicule or harassment from strangers on the streets. They can be themselves. They can be beautiful. They can be stars. They can be the main characters of their own show. The drag queens in the documentary, they mentioned how it was like they were celebrities. Like I said, it was like they felt like stars. It felt like they accepted awards for outstanding performances, and they did. They received awards in these competitions, and they it was just a way for them to express themselves without the pressure of following their gender norm. What I mean by that is society, like I said, society pressures men to act like men, and if men don't act like men, they face judgment. But in these spaces, they could just be, they could just exist, they could breathe and just be them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Being ridiculed and not being accepted was just the common norm for them. In fact, I recently found out that out of any LGBT member, whether you're lesbian, gay, bisexual, it's the trans men and women that face the most harassment and that face the most danger on the streets. Which is why the drag competitions were so important to them, because they could just be themselves. One of the um one of the women in these drag competitions, her name was Pepper Loboja. She was a woman, a part of the ballroom scene, the drag competition, who told a story of how her mother burned her women's clothing. Her mom just didn't accept that her son wanted to be a woman. So she told a story of how her mom found her feminine clothing in a closet and burned them, and how she just cried. She cried, and she just didn't have nowhere else to go and nowhere to turn to. So she joined the ballroom scene and became a sort of mentor for the other people facing those same stories. She helped those people who had the same stories as her, whose parents just didn't accept them. And she took them under her wing, and they participated in competitions where they could just be themselves. A lot of parents refuse to accept their children, so they often run away to these scenes. Some of them are homeless, some of them are hungry, some of them are thirsty, some of them are looking for love. And in these drag shows, that's where they found it. Parents who don't accept their LGBT sons and daughters, there's many reasons for that, but the most common one is religion. According to a research article that I'll also link in the description, 55% of adults with a religious affiliation say that homosexuality conflicts with their religious beliefs. A research survey asked LGBT respondents to rate 6 religions on a scale of friendliness towards them. The responses were that the Muslim religion, the Mormon church, and the Catholic church were the most unfriendly to them. Which begs the question, why is there a divide between the LGBT community and religious groups? The most obvious answer would be because of different beliefs regarding sexual orientation. But my answer on the matter, my personal answer, is because many people following a specific religion force can sometimes force their beliefs on others, and it could come across as threatening because most times they are threatening. Some religious people can be threatening. There have been many signs and outrage that spew hate toward these communities, with signs saying gay people go to hell or Jesus hates you, which contradicts what Jesus has said to his followers with the commandment, love thy neighbor. The fact of the matter is that it's not, I don't believe it's the religion itself that's the problem. I believe it's the people following in that religion. What does that mean? From personal experience, let's say I used to identify as a Christian. I was a devout follower of Christianity, especially my freshman year of high school. I would read the Bible, I would pray, I would go to church, I would fast. You know, fasting means I would um, stop my food intake in order to like focus with God. I used to be such a devout Christian, and I would wonder why people would leave Christianity. In fact, I would assume that those people were hateful towards us Christians. But then eventually I grew up and it was like the innocence kind of left my eyes. My mom taught me about Christianity. She raised us Christian. But when I grew up, I kind of had my own opinion on it, and I saw that some Christians, and this isn't all Christians, I'm not saying Christianity or Christian people are bad people, but I'm saying some Christians, I started to see how hateful they were towards certain groups like the LGBT community. And when I saw how hateful they were, that was when I decided to leave. I decided not to be a Christian anymore. I decided that I wanted to have a personal relationship with God, then follow the religion. I wanted to just talk to God on my own time instead of just being a part of this group that was so hateful towards other people, because that's not a part of what Christianity really means. You're supposed to love people. You're supposed to accept people because that's what God does. And the fact that I saw people not doing that made me leave. And for the first time, I could understand why people left. I feel I feel if religious people could understand that there could be more cordial conversations with gay people um about their different belief systems, then we could unite. Christian people and the LGBT community, they can unite and just sit down and have a cordial conversation about their beliefs. No one can force it on the other person, but I think it's important for Christian people and LGBT people to just talk. Don't yell at each other, don't hate each other. Just talk. I guess I want Christian people to kind of understand that just because a person, may not have the same beliefs as you doesn't mean that they hate you. I think it's important for people to just love. That's what we're meant to do as humans. We're meant to love and understand each other. We're not all meant to be the same. We're all meant to have different opinions on things. And I think if both groups can understand that, then it could be make a real big difference. Unity. There shouldn't be any division, no matter what you identify as, because we're all people. We just have different upbringings. But just because we have different upbringings doesn't mean that we should hate each other. To conclude, there shouldn't be any limitations or shame or ridicule or harassment towards a person just wanting to be themselves. And I think that's all I had to say. So, this was a project for my psychology class that I will be turning in. Um, I don't usually do videos like this. I don't really post often, but I think if we can have cordial conversations on serious topics like this, I can definitely do more videos like this. So thank you for watching. Um, thank you for joining. Thank you. Bye.